You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you a little bit about our current sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. As you well know, if you've been following This is Oklahoma, they've been a huge part of this podcast. So this podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling an Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at OklahomaHOF. Also, for the podcast, a new sponsor, RCB Bank. Since 1936, RCB Bank has offered progressive products and a friendly service. Come in today to find out more about their loan promotion on new, used, refinanced cars, boats, campers, and ATVs. Visit RCB Bank to learn more. RCB Bank, that's my bank. With approved credit, restrictions apply. Now, let's get into today's episode.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode down at the Bedford's studio today with Mr. Coleman Clark to talk about BC Clark. And I know all of you listening to this and you're singing it already in your head, as I am. When I first came to the States, it was in the fall, and that first Christmas everyone was singing it, and I'm like, what are you singing? What is this? Every time on the radio around Christmas. And I'm like, now Martin, who's one of the employees here at Bedford's, made a joke. He said that they now teach the song in Oklahoma history classes because it's been around so long.
Probably in marketing classes too.
Oh, it's fantastic. As a marketing major myself, I love seeing stuff like that and hearing stuff like that. So, Coleman, thanks so much for coming down. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Excited to hear the story. Excited to dive into family business and hear about everything that that goes on at BC Clark. But one of the things I do love is the kind of the catchphrase you guys have, right? It's from the heart of Oklahoma, and I saw that it's the first thing you see on the website, and that's what we're going to dive into today. Is it's not just about the business, right? It's about people, and it's about the impact that you guys have had for so long. And 1892 it's a very long time ago. So thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate you coming down and willing to share some stories. What's kind of like your earliest memories of kind of just working with family and then at the store and everything like that?
That's interesting. I did grow up spending Christmas breaks and some summer times at the store. Those early years of trying to earn a little bit of money. Probably started with gift wrapping first. I'm actually a pretty good gift wrapper.
Yeah.
Because I did it a lot as a young boy. Windexing the showcases, things like that. So literally, starting at the bottom. But I remember going down to the downtown store. At that time, we had a carpet that was like emerald green, like bright green. That was the color of the day. I guess right before the things changed to orange,
right, and
puke green and worse colors in the 70s.
I'm sure you get some great photos of that too.
I do.
Yeah, it's come a long way. I've been in the new store, or the most recent store, right? That's in Class and Curve, and it's fantastic. It's a beautiful spot, and obviously grand opening and everything you guys had last year. It's come a long way for sure, right? From that green.
It's come a long way. We when we make decisions to move a store or to open a new store, we really look at the long term, and we really plan to be there for a long time. So we're pretty careful about our moves and our expansions. And so, we were at Penn Square for over 30 years. We've been at North Park for, I think, 40 years, and downtown for, since 1929. So, we planned to be at Class and Curve for a long time, so we built it in a way that was, classic and will stand the test of time. And it's just a beautiful space to start with. So it was a lot of fun to kind of design and plan that store. Definitely.
And you to be in a business that you're in, like, there's a lot of happy faces walking in and out of those, every door, isn't it? And it's great to see people's smiles. I'm sure, as you walk in and walk out, it's such a special moment, an engagement or a celebration, or whatever it is. It could be someone's graduating and they get a watch. There's always a significant moment behind.
That's
the gift, right? Or
absolutely
the product.
Right. There's a lot of things. I'm probably not really a natural salesman, but jewelry is such a happy thing to be able to sell, and you're helping people celebrate moments in their lives, and so it's so rewarding and such a fun business to be in. One of my favorite things is to sit down with an engagement ring couple and work with them to help them find the perfect diamond and the perfect ring for them, and really to celebrate that moment.
Yeah, no doubt. So growing up, then you're in the store, you're vacuuming the carpet. Thankfully, that's gone now. You're cleaning everything and kind of gift wrapping it in the busy periods over Christmas. Is there a time that you think, you're in high school and you're going into university, am I going to be in the family business, or are you thinking, I have other passions, I want to go my own way?
I got asked a lot when I was a kid because I was the oldest boy, and back then it was the son was kind of the heir to the business, which has changed.
It's like
now.
the royal family.
But so I got asked a lot, in elementary school and beyond by people. It's like, are you going into the business? And so that was a little bit of pressure, not brought on by my parents, but really by other people. But I always thought I would go into the business, but I was never really sure. I had interests in the common things. I wanted to be a doctor, wanted to be a fireman, all those things that boys kind of dream of. But I always felt I would go in the business, so I went to the University of Oklahoma and enrolled in the business school. And a couple of years into it, I really couldn't decide on what my specific major. And I'm probably pretty vanilla all the time, but I like to be just a little unique. So I heard of a major called MIS, Information Systems, which is really brand new at the time. And I think someone in the fraternity house a couple years older than me was in it and said, there's great opportunities to get jobs. And so I just kind of went for it, knowing not really anything about computers. So once I got over the shock of having no idea what they were talking about in my first couple of classes, I kind of got the hang of it.
Yeah.
And I got a job at Sprint in Dallas as a computer analyst. So did some programming and some more analyst work. And had my success there. And a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years into it, I started looking at my boss's position and my boss's position and thinking, that didn't really look like very much fun. I'm not sure that that's what I want to do. So started thinking more about the family business, and I decided that's really where I wanted to be. So
during that time that you made that decision, then that's kind of like early 90s, like tech boom, kind of like this is really interesting and a lot of buzz going on around technology and stuff.
I graduated in 91.
Okay.
So I was programming in COBOL and SQL and all those archaic languages, and went to Dallas at that time right after graduating, and came back to Oklahoma City in 1995. So got married in February. Well, started working in January, got married in February, and then immediately went to California to go to gemological school for 6 months. So it was like almost kind of an elongated honeymoon for 6 months.
6 months that's a long time, right? But also it's it's very. What you're learning is how was that?
There's a lot to learn. So it was school basically Monday through Friday, 8 to 3. I'd ride my bike to school while my wife drove the car to her job. She had a job out there, so I'd get home at middle of the afternoon and do my studying and homework and do some laundry and start dinner maybe.
Yeah, pretty intense
not.
6 months then.
It was. So it's, you learn all about diamonds, how to grade them, and then all about colored stones too, how to identify different stones and all the things that go with it.
And at that point, kind of going into the family business and going to that school, obviously, it is part of your job. You have to go and learn. You can't do your job without, I'm sure you can, but you have to. It's an asset to you at this point, right? It's not like
it really helped me because it helped me gain the confidence to sell what I was trying to sell, and other people certainly do it in other ways. Just kind of learn the business on the fly, and a lot of people do the class through correspondence, but it takes maybe 2 or 3 years to do what I did in 6 months. So it was good to have that kind of knowledge.
And you're in
base.
Southern California, right?
Yeah.
It's
It was hard to get my wife to come back. Yeah, Melissa wanted to stay out there. We were having fun mountain biking on the weekends and going to the beach.
Can we open a store out here instead? Oh, that would have been great too. And I just chatting before we started recording, obviously you're a huge tennis fan and play tennis and golf in California and tennis in California, it doesn't get much better, does it, when the weather's perfect?
No, the weather, you can count on the weather being nice.
No doubt. I had a friend that played golf out there and he would just like on purpose would wind us up in the winter and just screenshot the weather for the week and just send it to us. And we're in Oklahoma and it's blowing 30 mile an hour in February. Like, what is going on? But yeah, he definitely enjoyed himself out there, and I'm sure everyone that goes out there does too. So you're going through this intense 6 months, then you're learning about everything there is to learn about, like I said, diamonds, gems, color stones, all that kind of stuff. Anything from those 6 months that really stood out to you, that kind of any misconceptions or just stuff that's fascinating? And
well, one thing that was really interesting and eye-opening for me is we had a class of about 20 to 25 people, and there was only, I think, 4 of us that were from the U.S., so it was a very international group, so from people from a lot of different countries that, culturally got got to know some people and know.
Right.
It was interesting for me in that sense. And I had my lab partner. Everyone's paired up for labs, and he was from India. And interestingly, he was colorblind, which the first thing you do when you're trying to identify a stone is you look at it and see what color it is. That's your first clue. So, he'd ask me, he'd say, "Is this orange?" I'd say, "No, that's green." Anyway, we worked through it. He helped me with things. I helped him with things.
That must be so cool to be in such a melting pot of people, right?
Yeah.
In the class, just to have 4 people from the States and then people from all around the world, and like you're learning, how everyone, just hanging out. You got so much time with each other for 6 months. You're learning about everybody and how they do things and why, what business they're going back to and what part of the business they're going back to and stuff like that. That must have been really cool.
And that was before, social media and all those things. So, but there are a few people from the class I still keep in touch with through social media now and other things. So it's nice to have those friendships. And
definitely, yeah.
It's
good
one of the other
people.
interesting things of our time there, it was during the O.J. Simpson trial, and our apartment that we lived in was like 3 blocks from the murder scene.
Yeah.
And so there was constantly cars driving by just to look at the scene.
Yeah.
And the day we left, we were driving back, we decided to go stop by the Grand Canyon just to look over the edge and move on.
It's a pretty scary thing to do, isn't it? Yeah.
We were standing there, and this tour bus pulls up, and the guide of the bus kind of steps down, and everyone kind of gathers around her, and she holds up a radio, and they're reading the verdict on her radio or whatever.
Wow.
And that's how we learned of the verdict.
Gosh. It's a pretty big part of American history, I guess, right? People, everyone knows that.
Grand Canyon, O.J. Simpson, 2 things that everyone knows something about.
Gosh, brilliant. And that, obviously the famous Ford Bronco, which I think the new Bronco was released on the anniversary of the OJ thing. I think that's what Ford did. Yeah, it's all about marketing things that they do. I think Ford released it on the anniversary of the car chase or whatever, which is that I'm sure someone at Ford had to sign off on that and pray that nothing bad happened. But so interesting 6 months. Then you're learning, as much as you can learn, taking it all in, and then somehow convince your wife to move back to Oklahoma, and then you are part of the family business. Is any of the other sons part of the family business at that time?
Not at that time. I do have a younger brother who's now in the business with me. He kind of did the same path. He worked for Eddie Bauer for a few years and came back, and so it's good to bring different talents into the business from where you learn elsewhere. So
I'm sure it's important for you and your brother to get away from it a little bit as well and kind of find your feet and figure out, because otherwise you probably would have never known, right?
Yeah, I know.
There's always that.
For me, I'll admit, it was important for me just to know that I could succeed without that given to me. So that was good for me and gave me the confidence to come in and try to take the company to the next level and to keep it going.
Yeah,
because it's I have a lot of admiration for people that start a business. I didn't have to do that, but it's not a given that our business will go every year. And business is tough and retail is tough, and as a lot of businesses have failed over the years, there's been a lot of stores that have been competitors of ours that are no longer here, and so we have to work hard every day to keep pushing forward and not resting on our laurels.
Yeah, and it's not just Christmas time. Everyone knows who you are, right? You got it. You make money. You have to work. The other 11 months of the year.
Right.
So coming back, like, how, what kind of, do you have kids at that point? It's just you and your wife, like, when you get back to Oklahoma City, and what kind of year is that?
So moved back, and my wife found a job, so she was working, and then it wasn't a few years later we started having children, and we had a girl, then we had another girl, then we had another girl, and then we had one more girl. Yeah. So four girls, which is amazing and awesome, and so they're now in high school and college age.
Yeah. And were you consistently trying for a boy, or was it just, we'll try, we'll see?
No, I mean, I'm sure people don't believe me, but we never found out what the sex was before the birth, which I don't know if anyone does that anymore.
Yeah, I've always wanted to ask people, like, I'm sure it just makes the day even better, right?
I just think it's the greatest surprise in the world, just not knowing, and then boom, there it is. And, but I was literally every time hoping it was a girl, because I don't know,
because she's gonna have sisters, and you just I have a friend of mine from university. She's one of 5 girls, I think, and and they were of all ages, and it's not uncommon. And I also have another friend who has he's one of 6 boys, and I think they've all had kids, and the all first kid that all the grandchildren were boys as well. They finally have had a granddaughter, who gets now completely spoiled rotten, obviously. But that's really cool to have 4 girls. I'm sure your wife's super happy to have the girls around, and initially I'm sure it wasn't easy, right? You got 4 kids running around, but
I think any parent that has a bunch of small children will it's tough. It is it's rewarding, and it's fun and challenging, and they're all different. All 4, they're all compatible, but they're all different, different personalities.
Are they kind of vacuuming the floors, and are they in the store and they wrapping presents yet?
They've all had their time in the store. We'll see what that 5th generation brings. My brother has 3 boys that are younger than mine, so we've got several opportunities, and my older 2 look like they're going in maybe other directions for careers, and my 3rd one even is interested in being a vet. So
that's cool.
But there's time. There's no pressure.
I
mean, obviously, I'd love for one of them or more than one of them to follow into the business.
But obviously, from your experience and your brothers too, it's important to go out and kind of find your own 2 feet. And look, it's always going to be here if you want to come back, and there is that opportunity there. But at the same time, follow your passion and go do what you want to do, which is one of the greatest gifts, really, and you can give to a child, isn't it? It's like, hey, if you want to go do something, then go work hard at it, and we'll support you.
Absolutely.
Rather than saying, hey, we've got a job to fill, we need you in the store now. I'm sure you get some kickback probably from your wife if you started saying that to your daughters, right? So all right, so you come back, you're in the business. And you mentioned kind of working hard and growing the business and kind of staying competitive. What's some of the key moments then over the years that kind of has kind of led to continued success? Obviously the internet's a big one, and your online presence is good, and now social media and everything like that. How's that been?
Yeah, like I mentioned, that we're blessed to have been in business for over 125 years.
Yeah.
Actually, the oldest business in Oklahoma with the same family ownership, but we always have that, but we always think we've got to take one step ahead, and we've got to be creative, and we've got to be innovative and come up with marketing ideas and do things a little different, and always be one step ahead. So, some of the things I look at is some of the things we've done creatively with our marketing. And my brother he's director of marketing and vice president, so he handles a lot of where we've come now with the internet and our website and social media and things like that. But our Pray for Rain program was probably one of the more significant things that I started really just 3 years after I came back in the business. And so that's been going now over 20 years. And so if people don't know, it's if you buy your engagement ring from us and it rains an inch or more on your wedding day in Oklahoma City, then we give your money back up to $5,000. And so we've had I think we've had 263 winners now. Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. In fact, almost embarrassed to say, but our last winner was my father-in-law.
Oh, really? Yeah. Brilliant.
Just got married a month ago or so.
Yeah.
In Atlanta.
During all that rain.
Had great weather in Atlanta, but it rained here, so he got the best of.
That's cool that you kind of honor that in Oklahoma, right? That it's like, hey, even though you didn't get married here, it's still rained.
Had a lot of people that have had weddings elsewhere that have had great weather, and rains here.
Destination.
Or sometimes
weddings.
it may rain overnight, like 3 a.m. in the morning. It rains, and then they're already a winner, but then it clears up, and they have a beautiful wedding here. So
that's awesome.
A lot of great stories.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's really cool to see kind of like, for me looking at the social media and stuff that you guys do, and just kind of it is fun to see. You mentioned the oldest company in Oklahoma and generational family business. There's a lot of family businesses that get to 3 generations or 2 and they or 4 or whatever, and they just kind of like the passion isn't there. It's really nice to see, and obviously I can get your passion for the business and putting putting smiles on faces and doing the work that you do. But the continuous, staying a step ahead, it's important, isn't it? Because there are places popping up all the time that are competition, that are discount this or whatever. And, one thing that a lot of people say, and I look at reviews, that it's always back to service, from day one. It's kind of like, to the point of the rainy day thing. Like, you could just say, no, it's got to be in Oklahoma and your wedding has to be in Oklahoma. Well, there's a reason, right, that you guys do the jobs that you do, and the service that you provide is second to none.
Yeah, I think that's started with, my great-grandfathers with service. We always try to bend over backwards, and we have 2 rules. Rule number 1 is the customer's always right. Mm-hmm. Rule number 2, if the customer's wrong, refer to rule number 1. And so, we look at situations that are maybe difficult situations as opportunities, and we try to go above and beyond what the customer's expecting us to do about whatever the issue may be. That and supporting not just our customers but our community as a whole. That's always been important since the inception of our company, is supporting our community. So I'm really proud of what we do for the United Way and other charities around the city. I mean, we're local. We're about as local as you can get. We're not just a company that has come in and tried to establish themselves as a local company, but we've been here and we'll be here. Yeah,
no doubt. Well, to that point of just kind of great granite starting everything. What are the stories that you were told then as a kid about like great granite stories and your family stories? And I'm sure there's some beauties in there.
Yeah, he was. He was one of 10 kids in Mississippi on a cotton farm, and when he was 18, he decided to go out and join his brother, who had moved to Abilene, Texas, and who had a little jewelry and watch repair shop. And so he kind of learned the watch repair business and retail a little bit. And this is back in the late 1880s and early 90s. And he kept hearing of opportunity up in Indian Territory, which is now Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It was Indian Territory then, and he finally decided he'd go give it a shot to make his fortune up there, and took his savings of $50 or so and got on the train with his workbench, and he was heading to Chickasha. He liked the sound of that.
Yeah.
Thought that sounded like a pretty neat place. And got to Purcell, where he was supposed to change trains, and realized he lost his wallet. So he was basically stuck in Purcell, wandering the streets.
With no money.
He found an acquaintance that he knew in Abilene that owned like a racket store, which was a 5 and dime store, and he let him open up a little corner in his shop, and that's how he started. And
that's amazing, isn't it?
Started repairing watches, and soon got into a lot of the train employees, the railroad employees, all had to get their pocket watches inspected every 15 days, because that's how they kept
Keep
all
time,
the trains on time. And so he eventually became the official railroad inspector of watches, and so they had to come to him every 15 days.
No iPhones back then, is there? No apps to keep you going. That's awesome. That's so cool.
He was ambitious and creative and a real entrepreneur. He actually tried a lot of other side businesses that weren't successful. And I've read some of the things that he's written in his old age about all the hardships that he had from I think in the teens he bought a piano store in Oklahoma City, and his partner that he was with ended up basically stealing all of his money and leaving town. He got into some real estate that went bad. He tried some oil that was not good, and anyway, he had a lot of failures, but what he did have was a personality and an attitude of going out there and helping his fellow man. He was a very godly man. He helped start over 20 Methodist churches, and he became known as Mr. Methodist in Oklahoma. So there's a lot of heritage there, and we have something that he started. This was 60 or 70 years ago, called our church coupon, and we still do today. If someone at the counter, when they buy something, if they ask for a church coupon, we'll give 3% of their purchase price to the church of their choice. And so we accumulate these so every 6 months we send checks to 125, 150 churches around the area.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
good. Such a legacy. That's I mean, it's so cool to have kind of, the all the writing and stuff that he's written down, and that have him around. And you need to do a family podcast just to sit down with recording equipment and just kind of have, Granddad just kind of tell stories.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that lately, actually. Sitting down with my father to tell some stories, because my memory is not great, and so some of the stories that he has that I don't know of would be nice to have on record. My great grandfather, when he lived to be 94, and when he taught Sunday school until he was 92 at least, maybe until he was 94. But right down the street from here at May Avenue Methodist Church.
That's one of the things I love about kind of family businesses is stories like that, right? Because growing up in a totally different time back then, the things that the hardships and the hard work and there's so many lessons in the stuff that he did, and obviously you learn from failure and hard work, and taking a chance to come to Oklahoma or Indian Territory at that time, and there's so many lessons that you share to family, to businesses. I'm sure there's been some times that you've probably gone and spoken at universities, or someone in the business has, and just pass that on, because people today they forget those stories, right? And we talk about business and we think we want to be a millionaire now, or by the time we turn 30, and instant gratification and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, you look back, it just boils down to picking a passion and hard work. You know, and that's one of the things I love about this country is, and I've said this many times on the podcast, is the amount of opportunity there is here, and also the people of the state. You know, kind of like the why not mentality of, you know, let's go do something, let's figure it out, not why would you do that, you know, what if you fail kind of question that sometimes we get in other places. But that's fascinating stuff, and I'm sure there will come a time where you said you sit down with your dad and tell stories and just have that on record for future generations and, you know, grandkids and all the rest of it, because, you know, I get the sense that this business isn't going anywhere, right?
Right, it better not.
Yeah. What about kind of, you know, switching it and kind of bringing it back to, you know, the gems and the watches and just kind of the product that puts so many smiles on people's faces, and some of them are an achievement to people. I have a friend who he bought his first Rolex in June last year, and he loves watches, and he is like a huge fan of everything, not just kind of like, I want a fancy watch because it's a statement. He is like a watch nerd, watches YouTube videos about it all day. What's kind of like your favorite, like your, you know, like, is it the diamonds and the gemstones and kind of that sort of things, or is it like, you know, the timepieces and the bracelets? Like what do you kind of gravitate towards?
I love watches too. We have a lot of watch enthusiasts, customers that surpass my love of watches. But that's one of my favorite parts of the business is the watches. But I think more than that for me is diamonds. You know, I love to buy diamonds. You know, choose diamonds for our store to stock, and I love to sell diamonds too. So it's a pretty fascinating part of our business. It's changed. Certainly some since I came in the business. It's a little bit more of a commodity, but it will never be a straight commodity, because even two diamonds of the same size, of the same grade, are not the same necessarily. There's so many variables, and you have to, you know, when I buy diamonds for our store, there's no way I would just buy it off of the stats on a sheet of a certificate or online. You know, something I have to look at, and I would hope that, you know, consumers would understand that too. So when they come in the store, it's a much better way to buy diamonds than buying online or some other way. So, you know, that's something I take a lot of pride in and enjoy doing. So, and again, like I said, sitting down with a couple, whether it's a engagement ring or a 40th anniversary, a celebration, you know, that's really the best part of my job.
Yeah, it is probably. I bet people sometimes when people come into the store, they might be shocked to see you doing the work, right? They look you up and think, oh, Coleman's president. Why is he here, right? They might think, I'm going to have somebody else do it.
I think that's true, and you know, a lot of people might spend their time at Class and Curve or North Park, one of our other stores, and they don't see me necessarily there. I'm usually downtown where our headquarters is, but at the downtown store, even though that's where our offices are, most days I'm on the sales floor, and people can find me if they want to. And I have my own clientele and my own friends that I sell to and work with. So that's always been an important thing to really, I guess, started with my great-grandfather all the way down through my grandfather, my dad, and me. We try to spend as much time on the sales floor as we can. And sometimes some of the other duties of owning a small business get we don't always do great at everything, because maybe we have too much time on the floor. But so it's challenging, but we still think it's important. You really see what's going on on the front lines. And
when going back to what you mentioned, like buying diamonds for the store, are you going to conferences? Are you going to a central place, kind of, or are you getting a clientele and kind of customers, not customers, but you know, like the diamond people who make them and the watches as well, like, are you being shipped away and flown places? Like, how does that kind of work?
I mean, normally I do most of my diamond buying in New York.
Okay.
So there's diamond cutters there that have facilities there as well as other parts of the world, and you know, it's a good place where you can see a lot of product and a lot of people at one time. You know, we've made a trip to Africa. We've gone to other places for on occasion, but most of it I can do in New York. And then, you know, we'll certainly do some, especially through the pandemic. Haven't traveled as much, so companies that we've had relationships for a long time, diamond cutters will send us a lot of product. We'll pick and choose some things and send back. Everything comes through the mail.
As secure as it can be, right? How with stuff like going to New York and back when we can travel, and hopefully we get to do that. And you mentioned going to Africa. What's going to Africa like, being in diamond business and going and buying and sourcing? Like, people see the movies, right, and they see all that, and they probably think the worst things ever, right? What is it actually like?
Well, I think it's important to know that what the movies and other issues are about. It's certain pockets and parts of Eastern Africa, and so there's South Africa, Namibia, Botswana. The diamond industry is so important to those communities, and it really supports the communities, and the diamond industry gives back to a lot of ways to those communities, communities through building schools and orphanages and a lot of different ways. So it was nice to kind of see some of that, and as well as see an actual diamond mine. In the U.S. there's no diamond mines except where you can kind of go pilfer through some things in Arkansas at a state park, but the closest real mine here is in far north Canada. So seeing the mining operation was interesting. We got to meet with some people from De Beers and really see some of the. Are they kind of like quite large scale, like kind of mines? Like, what is it? Something that you would? I have no idea. Large scale, and you have to dig so deep to get to where diamonds are. And some of the equipment that you see is like these tractors with tires that are 5 times as tall as I am. Yeah. It's amazing. They basically will take down some of the parts of the machinery to the bottom of the pit and put it together down there because they can't get it down there. But diamonds are they form in places that are not easy to get to. Right. So it's very costly, the whole mining operation. And when you're at a mine looking, you definitely don't see any diamonds. You're seeing tons of rock. It's people digging up, and big equipment, and you have to. It's not like the movies where you just see this gem and shining at you out of the dirt. Exactly. I think they have to move. What is it? 100 ton of ore on average to get 1 carat of diamond. Wow. So it's a complicated process. So there's another mining operation off the coast of Namibia, Africa, where they find diamonds on the ocean floor because those diamonds have been washed through streams and rivers. Basically, diamonds are formed 100 miles under the ground surface, and you can't dig that far to get them. So you have to find where volcanoes have brought diamonds up closer to the surface, and in some cases they bring them all the way to the surface. And then they wash away through rivers and streams to the ocean floor, and so they're mining on the ocean floor now, and that's actually, I mean, it's fascinating stuff, isn't it? And it's it's such a long journey from that, putting that diamond right in a ring or somebody wearing it on their finger to where this has come from. It is an amazing journey from the mining process, and then when you cut a piece of rough diamond, you typically lose at least half the weight of the rough, and it's a pretty laborious job to cut a diamond. It takes at least a diamond of any size, like a carat or more, just to saw the rough diamond in half, which they typically do before they cut diamonds. May take 8 hours to cut through the diamond, unless it's done with a laser. But wow, it's fascinating stuff for sure, and it kind of reminds me of that James Bond movie. What is it? One of the James Bond movies. I am a child of the '90s, so my James Bond is Pierce Brosnan. So there was one of those movies that was about diamonds, and it's brilliant, as they all are. Anything for you that kind of like over the years that you've been working in the business that stood out as like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, or kind of, and I don't want to say, look, what's the biggest diamond you've ever seen, because the value of it might not be just because of its size, but
there are days, obviously some days are better than others, and this might have been when you were studying for 6 months.
Well, probably the first thing I think of happens to be the biggest diamond that we've ever had and sold. It was the Heart of Oklahoma diamond.
Okay.
Which I had an idea several years ago that we wanted something special to commemorate our legacy of starting a business in 1892, being the oldest business. And so I thought, what if we found a diamond that was weighed 18.92 carats, and it could be kind of the legacy diamond of B.C. Clark. And so we're thinking about that and kind of looking at, what kind of diamond we wanted, and decided we wanted something pretty unique. So we wanted a yellow diamond with really intense color. And then we thought it'd be great if it were flawless, a flawless diamond.
Right.
And so it took years to find the perfect diamond for that. And we finally realized, we found a piece of rough. One of our suppliers found a piece of rough that could be cut to that. It was a 35 carat piece of rough that he thought. He called me, and this was after 6 years of kind of looking at it and thinking about it.
Yeah.
And he said, I think I may have found the perfect diamond for you. And as it turned out, it was flawless. Yeah. Cut it to 18.92 carat. It's a fancy, intense yellow. We called it the Heart of Oklahoma diamond, and we had a ring made for it, a handmade ring by Harry Kotler, and we built an event around it. And actually, it got finished the day before or maybe 2 days before the Country Music Awards.
Okay.
This was in 2018, I think. And so a few weeks prior to that, we were thinking, Carrie Underwood's from Oklahoma.
Right.
It'd be great if she could
wear it. Yeah.
We didn't really think it would happen, but sure enough, she wore it on stage at the CMAs, and she was the first person to wear the ring. And
That's
then
brilliant.
My brother went there and flew it back. The next day, we had the event in the store, and now it's owned by a local Oklahoman.
That's awesome.
So it found a good home.
And something like that, it's now a piece of history, right? And it's, okay, that person may wear it every now and then, but at the same time, like it will be a future museum piece. It is already a museum piece, but like there could be 300 to 400 years from now, it's in a museum somewhere, which is again a legacy,
someday,
right?
Yeah.
That's kind of why you're in the business, is to build timeless things and leave a legacy, like grandfather, your dad and yourself. Like it's back, like I said before on the podcast, like just now, it's these products that diamonds and watches and bracelets and necklaces, whatever it is, like every single one signifies something, right? An achievement, a moment. I'm sure every day you're just like, it must feel so good just to see people walking out the store with smiling faces, and the husband's looking back at you, like giving you the thumbs up or the wink, like thank you for helping me or whatever. Because I don't know anything about diamonds, and I'm sure if I came into the store with my wife, it'd be like, there's a reason that you go to school for 6 months, and it's intense, right? The education that you guys have gone through, and I'm sure everyone in the store goes through. It's all back to service, and there's all a reason for the things that you do.
Well, there's so much meaning behind jewelry, and most people, when they look at their jewelry on their hands or their ear, whatever they're wearing, they can remember the occasion of when they got that, who gave it to them, what it was for. And so, anyone listening to this podcast can look at their jewelry right now and probably name off, those things, because there's so much meaning behind it, and we get to share with those in those moments. So,
for people listening, then, is there anything? I say tips, but is there anything that comes to mind that? When people coming into the store that they have no idea what they want, they're looking at things, and that they might not know anything about diamonds, but they might have an idea of kind of what they want. Like, what's that process like, and is the timeline kind of different now because of shortages or whatever, transport or whatever's gone on over the last year? What's kind of like the process?
Yeah, there's one of the things I like about our store a lot is that we really appeal to a wide range of people. You know, we have a 10-carat diamond ring in the case that might be $300,000. And then we have a monthly special that's $100 a piece of jewelry. So, and everything in between. So people can find something for them, and they're going to know we're going to stand behind it and its quality. We also have a lifestyle department with home accessories and gifts. So there's a lot of those things that are under $100 and up. So, and then aside from that, I'd say people to build their jewelry wardrobes. You know, we always would suggest, you know, quality over quantity, and go with the classics. You know, the diamond ear studs. Your diamond pieces are going to hold their value better than you know, designer things, and then kind of build around that. People that have had a lot of silver and white gold. Some of them are liking now expanding their yellow gold wardrobe. So, and then as far as watches go, you know, Rolex has stood the test of time, and they hold their value better than any other watch that we carry. And the demand right now for Rolex is worldwide.
That's what my buddy told me. He's like, I've had offers for this already.
It's really incredible. Yeah. We've seen nothing like it, and we've carried Rolex for decades. But if you want a Rolex for Christmas, you better go in the store now and try to
otherwise you're going to be Christmas next year.
Because it's truly the supply and demand is very difficult right now. So it's tough, but it's
But it's I think the one that my buddy has, he's like, that was the last year that they made it before they came out with a new design, so it automatically went up in value because you can't get them anywhere anymore. And that's you know, like you said, they've stood the test of time, and there's a reason that, you know, they are seen as the best, right?
It's a generational watch that you can hand down, and they're really fine quality pieces.
Good stuff. Well, Colin, thanks so much for coming down. Thanks so much for sharing family stories. I'm sure there's a lot more that we'll get to another day, but you know, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast as you know, the president of Oklahoma's oldest business. People now are going to start singing the jingle in their head. 1892. It's awesome, and I love it. And you know, I'm not a huge watch guy myself, but I'm a huge golfer, and there's a lot of golfers that get fancy watches given to them, so maybe I'll be good enough to get a free watch one day.
I hope so.
But yeah, thanks so much for coming down. For everyone listening, obviously you know the website and you know the social media handles, but I will link those down below just in case you want to go check that out, and you're thinking about, you know, spending some money and kind of, you know, sharing a big occasion, celebrating a big occasion, or you're working towards something. You might have, you know, hit a business goal or whatever it is, and you're thinking of something to celebrate that and commemorate that. These guys are obviously definitely going to be there to take care of you. But for everyone listening, we'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling an Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at OklahomaHOF. Also, huge shout out to RCB Bank for jumping on board to be a sponsor. RCB Bank's loan promotion is here for a limited time. Head into any of their 40 Oklahoma locations to get as low as 1.79 APR on your next car, boat, camper, or ATV. Apply online at rcbbank.com. RCB Bank, that's my bank. Rate and finance with approved credit. Restrictions apply. And member FDIC. Huge shout out to my sponsors. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.